Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Before School podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and today we have a great guest, Billy Carson, a man who needs no introduction. He's a researcher, author, podcaster, and host and owner of the company Forbidden Knowledge. Billy Carson's been on my radar for quite some time. I've been very interested in ancient civilizations, consciousness, alternative theories. So his name seems to come up over and over again in that field. But this year, he was on my radar for many other reasons. He went through a massive cancellation campaign, some drama, huge issues with the debate that he was in. And it was a very humbling and sobering process that he went through. And I was curious to talk to him about that and get his redemption story and his mindset around the whole thing. And it was really inspiring. So I learned a lot from Billy. This was a really encouraging conversation, and I hope you get value out of it. Without further ado, let's talk to Billy Carson. Hello, Billy Carson. It's an honor to finally get to meet you.
Hey, man, it's an honor. Thank you for having me on. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. So, I've been really curious about ancient civilizations, catastrophes, alternative versions of history for a long time. And so naturally, I come across your name quite a bit.
Yeah. It's fortunately, I've hit the algorithm. So I'm cycling through all the feeds on a consistent basis. I think I'm up to 2 billion views now collectively.
Wow.
Which is pretty incredible. Yeah. So thanks for searching, man. I appreciate it.
well, all roads eventually lead to Anunnaki.
Yes, they do. They sure do. And I've been talking about that for so long. Finally, it's finally being accepted, on a high level. And I've been on hundreds of shows now, hundreds of podcasts, maybe thousands of podcasts by now, actually. And the topic just never gets old, because people really want to know. And it's such a big story. There's so much to talk about.
Well, it's one of those things that you try to dismiss it, but it just keeps on coming back. And so there have been many times where I've been like, this is pseudoscience. There's nothing to this, but it just seems to keep coming back. And so I'd love to maybe just start from the beginning and maybe uncover like why are humans human? Like why did we become different from animals? Mm-hmm. Why did we become conscious? And I'd love to like tie in how Anunnaki play a role in that. Yeah,
definitely. If you really want to go back to the very, very, very beginning, we have to look at these people that we're calling the Anunnaki. In ancient text, even before that name, it was called the Anuna. In the biblical text, the Anak, they have a lot of different names. Star Brothers and the indigenous American tribes. But these people hailed from another star system altogether. And all roads are pointing towards the Pleiadian star system, including the stories or the star lore from the Aboriginal elders in Australia. And I've collected artifacts over the years. And on these artifacts that I have, at least 70% of them have a depiction of the Pleiadian star system. Excuse me. Not only a depiction of it, but in some ways they are letting us know that this is where they come from. There's even one cylinder scroll that I have that shows the pathway that the Anunnaki gods took through star systems to get to the Pleiades and from Pleiades back here, which is bizarre. We have star travel on a Sumerian cylinder scroll in the British Museum. So it tells me that potentially that's where it hailed from. Now, when I look into the ancient texts like the Indian Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, the Rig Veda, the Battle of the 10 Kings, you start realizing they're talking about battles in space, not inside the Earth's atmosphere, outside the Earth's atmosphere in some of these battles. They even talk about a battle in a different star system, which I believe is referring to potentially the Pleiadian star system, because they all hail from there. And I believe that this ancient galactic war occurred, and it was so crazy that they released this weapon in the Vedas. They call it the Brahmahanda Astra. And this Brahmahanda Astra weapon was so destructive that once it was released, it couldn't be returned. It couldn't be destroyed. Whatever it was aimed at, it would decimate it, and it can destroy any man on 3 worlds. We're talking about a machine or a weapon that can destroy planets and moons. Imagine if you were in a part of the solar system or that solar system up there in that sector of the galaxy where you're on a planet orbiting these stars, right, called the Seven Sisters of the Pleiades, and now planets are being blown up, moons are being blown up. That debris can come and strike your planet at any moment and, of course, wipe out your entire planet. So I believe what happened was this was the first account of space refugees. These people who had the capability, I'm pretty sure not everyone could, to get in a sky ship, like they call it a sky ship, and for abode, which means to get the hell out of there, they left and they went to Orion, Sirius A, B, and C, Aldebaran, Ursa Minor, Ursa Major, various different star systems, including one we call our solar system here with our sun, the Sol, and found Earth, and also inhabited this planet as well as a breakaway civilization. I believe that Earth is just one of potentially dozens of breakaway civilizations that exist in the Milky Way galaxy in this particular sector of our Milky Way.
That is beautifully put right there. Very concise. So is this your personal belief, or is this based off of like tablets?
It's a combination of basing off the tablets and kind of putting all the dots together, because the texts are pointing towards the Pleiades. The origin stories from the Sumerian, the Mulmul, is what they call it, Egyptian, which you can see it in hieroglyphs. They're also pointing toward the Pleiades. Like I said, the Star Lord of the Aboriginals, the Hopi tribe, Lakota tribe, all the indigenous tribes of the world, you start to realize a similarity that these beings, it's even in the biblical text, in the Bible, people came from this Pleiadian star system. In Australia, there are hieroglyphs in Carryong 9, just outside of Sydney. I've been there in person. And these are they call them Pleiadian glyphs. And nobody in the world to date has been able to decipher them, but they've been dated because the patina growing inside the crevices of the glyphs has been dated. It grows at a very slow rate, 5,000 years old. So there's 5,000-year-old hieroglyphs that the Aboriginal elders are calling Pleiadian, that nobody can decipher. So apparently, if that's true, they really came and visited this planet. They said that the Aboriginals say that they seeded people here, and they were one of the first people seeded on this planet, which is incredible. Now, why would they seed people on a planet? If you ask them, they say because there was a war, and they wanted to preserve us, so they brought us here. That was mind-blowing to me when I heard that, and that's their actual star lore for thousands of years of handed-down verbal history. And when you then get into the Indian Vedas and the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, and even some of the Greek texts, you start analyzing these wars of the gods, which even some of these wars are in the Bible as well, these wars in the heavens. There was some kind of major war above the atmosphere of this planet that took place in space, and people were scattered about trying to find a place to live, and I believe that Earth was one of them. So it's part conjecture and hypothesis, and part putting the pieces of the puzzle together from all the star lore and the ancient text.
I did a video a few years ago with Randall Carlson on the origins of Halloween, and we looked at ancient cave art, and there's all these pictures of bulls, and they have the Pleiades on their shoulder. It's the shoulder of the bull. What Randall Carlson was basically saying is that at 2 times a year, late June and early November, we go through the Taurid meteor stream. And especially in early November, we can actually see it because it's coming from the dark side of space. And so that is why you get all these folklore, witches, ancestral death rituals associated with that time of year, because you see so much activity in space, and it's a universal tradition. So yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting to see it on cave art too.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, that's wild. But the Pleiades is everywhere. I mean, from artifacts I have from all over the world, from different places. Why is the Pleiades on there? And there's even one artifact that I have called the El Baal artifact, which is from South America, and has a depiction of this being. I'll send you a photo of it. There's a depiction of this being coming through what looks like a wormhole or a gate. His head is peeking through this opening in space above Earth, or above wherever he is, and he's got this suit on, or some kind of helmet, and he's got this device that goes from the air to the mouth, like a speaking device of some type. And then there's another I guess, version of him on the same tablet, full body, and he's wearing all this equipment. And he's got the earpiece coming to the mouth, and it's just like, what the heck is going on here? It's so wild, man. It's just bizarre. This the more you look into this stuff and the more you read the text, you realize that these people didn't have the vocabulary to accurately describe what they were seeing. So they used the best words they can put together to give an explanation or a description. But if you start looking at it from a modern idiom, you begin to realize they were trying to tell us about advanced beings and advanced technologies. They just didn't have the vocabulary to adequately describe them.
So what is the mainstream explanation for these very extraordinary images?
Mythology. They were high on ayahuasca and psychedelics. They took some plant medicine, and they were hallucinating. You know, they're trying to rationalize their reality spiritually by making these images and these artifacts and these statues and these cave drawings, to go along with, their spiritual beliefs at the time. And it's all just mythology and, their mind's eye creating these images. These people were according to them, these people were just complete idiots, scavengers, just barely able to survive. And according to mainstream, they built all these incredible structures with chicken bones and copper chisels. So what they're saying when they write stuff like that and make it an official document is they're saying that they think that we are stupid.
Yeah. So what I like about what you do is you look at many different sources, genetics, astronomy, astrology, all these things. And I think when we look at many different sources, it seems to verify some of these extraordinary claims. Like, what are the scientific hardcore evidence that backs up some of these extraordinary, like Anunnaki, maybe they came down and genetically engineered humans? Like, is that a possibility?
I think it's a real possibility. There are several things in the human body that are major question marks for mainstream scientists, genetic scientists, biologists, anthropologists. They're all scratching their heads at these things, and they can't give you an answer. Geneticists are like, why is chromosome number 2 fused together and telomere caps put on the end? They're saying this is an artificial mutation. That's what's in the actual books in the university to study, to learn to be a geneticist. Artificial mutation. And when you look into the definition of that statement or that name, they're saying that this was done outside of evolution. So if it's done outside of evolution, well, what does that mean? Well, they will tell you that they're saying it would take more multi-millions of years for this type of a mutation to occur. And we've only been here for about 200,000, this version of Homo sapiens sapien. So they're saying there's not enough time for this chromosome 2 to somehow miraculously get pulled out, fused together, and telomere caps to be put on the end, because the 200,000 year time frame is just not enough time. So they call it artificial mutation. To me, that's just evidence of someone tinkering with our genetics. I mean, we have to look at it for face value for what it possibly is. They also discovered that there's a 2% variance in genes and genetics between different races of people. Yes, we are all the human race, but what makes me dark and what makes you light isn't because my ancestors were working in the sun for hours a day and that made me a black guy. That's what they told me in school, and I actually believed it at first. When I started studying science and genetics and biology, and you find out that there is a genetic difference between the races, and that genetic difference also doesn't match with the Homo sapiens sapien timeline. It's an artificial mutation that would take so long, millions of years, for it to naturally occur, and it doesn't seem like we've had that much time. So, again, another potential genetic mutation, and my hypothesis now, I will tell you on this, when you look into some of the ancient texts, you discover that these beings were spread out around the planet. And in the Emerald Tablets, even Thoth tells his crew that came to Kemet with him, which is now Egypt, to spread out around the world and duplicate what they did there. What did they do? They built a high-level civilization. Could it be that when these people, these Atlantean rulers, went to different places on Earth to build their new cities and rule over the people, that they genetically branded them to look like them. Because according to these ancient texts, these people all look different. Some of them were even from different planets. So if that's the case, could it be that I'm dark brown because the ruler over my particular group of people in my region of the planet was a dark brown person? Could it be that Caucasians, same thing, Asians, same thing? Could it be that these people who ruled over these ancient Atlantean capitals, because there were many capitals on Earth, all kind of genetically branded their people? There's a little clue in the Bible. In Genesis, Cain kills Abel and he gets kicked out of the Garden of Eden, right? God comes back, which is actually Enlil, Yahweh in the biblical text. He's shocked because he doesn't know that it's happened, although he's supposed to know everything at all times. He doesn't even know this happened. He's kind of shocked that it's happened. But he kicks him out. And then Cain says, the people out there will kill me. And so at first you got to say, wait a minute, people? What people are out there? Because there shouldn't be anybody out there, because supposedly this is the only family that exists at the time. That's what they taught you when you were a kid. But it wasn't. There were already maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people on Earth at the time. That was just inside the Eden garden, which in my opinion was a laboratory, an outdoor laboratory setting that was guarded at the gates by real guards, by the way, according to the text. But then he says, my people will kill me. But then God says, no, I'm going to put a mark on you so that the people will know that you're mine. Now, I take away any account that this is a real God of the universe, number one, because of a few factors. First of all, God shouldn't be shocked and surprised and not know something. It doesn't make any sense to me. That this death happened. Number two, God is gone away for some time and then comes back. God should be everywhere at all times. You don't have to go anywhere. God is omnipotent and omniscient. And then he puts a mark on Cain. Now, this mark, in my opinion, could be the confirmation of my hypothesis. This genetic marker, in other words, so that when he's out there, he's branded in a way. So, that's Enlil's people. Don't touch him, or Enlil's wrath is going to come upon you. So that's my opinion, and backs up to me my hypothesis that people were branded in certain genetic ways, maybe the way they look, maybe the way their skin tone, and so forth, to resemble the gods that ruled over them.
Genetic information is revealing a whole new story behind humanity. In school, they teach us that it's a very simple story. We started in Africa, and then we all migrated across Europe, Asia, and then down through the Bering Strait into the Americas. But the genetic information is showing that it's a lot more complicated, that there was probably seafaring navigation that happened, because there's links between Africa and South America that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
I think this new technology is going to bring in a new wave of, we're going to have to rewrite everything, basically.
Mm-hmm. Which is what they don't want, but it's got to happen because, they've given us access to a lot of technology, and although they thought it would make us more stupid and dumb, it's actually enlightening and making us a lot smarter. Some people are using it for dumb reasons, but people like us, we're using it for intelligence and to connect more dots, basically. And that's what we're doing. And the more access we have to this technology, the more connections we're going to make, and the more real of a history story we're going to be able to tell. Versus his story, we'll be able to tell the real history of the world very, very soon.
Yeah, lost technology is a rabbit hole I've gone pretty deep down, and your name comes up in that domain a lot as well. So I'm curious, what technology do you think we lost?
Oh man, we lost wireless technology, wireless electricity. So electricity that Nikola Tesla tried to replicate with the Wardenclyffe Tower. He reproduced ancient Egyptian technology in the Wardenclyffe Tower. And of course, J.P. Morgan said, no money in this, and destroyed it. But so that's again, we found it again, but then we lost it again. But wireless technology, the Great Pyramid itself was a gigantic wireless power generator, amongst other things. It was a multifunctional stone computer, and it had all these other properties as well. But one of it was electricity generation that can be sent up through the apex and captured by crystal obelisks as well as jets within the region to collect the energy and utilize it for many things. One being gold electroplating. We found thousands of electroplated gold pieces from ancient Egypt. Well, you can only electroplate something with electricity. There's only one way to do it. You need electricity. I think they ran looms and all kind of technology, even light bulbs with this electricity. So we lost that power generation system or the ability to do that. We've also lost advanced tools that allowed them to create these magnificent structures. In some way, these megalithic stones were moved and hoisted into place with some type of technology and machine that we don't even have today. You know, the stones at Baalbek, we just don't have a machine, a truck, a tractor, a crane that can lift those stones and move them around the way that they did. We'd have to break them into pieces. We just don't have the tech. So what does that mean? We lost that type of technology. It's gone. We have no clue, no idea. All they can say is chicken bones and copper chisels. And somehow, I don't think that's accurate. We lost healing technologies. These people, according to the ancient accounts, were living for thousands of years. And even in the biblical text, human beings were living for hundreds of years and sometimes reaching 1,000. All of a sudden, it just went away. And now we're down to, you know, if you can get past 85, like you had a full life. I mean, that's just should be like adolescence for us. So we really reduced our lifespan significantly, or they have, somebody has. The technology for healing is written about in some of these ancient texts. They had serums that they would make. They had different types of elixirs that they would give they called them the savants, the big men of renown, to heal their wounds and organs. They had all these different technologies that they would have. They even had a healing city. And in this healing city in ancient Samaria, Ninhursag, I believe her name was, or Ninmah. Ninmah had a healing city, and she had these technologies inside of these facilities that can bring a body back. Thoth in the Emerald Tablets, he has something called the Halls of Amenti, which were these gigantic rejuvenation chambers, which I take people to see some of them in Egypt when I take them to underground area where these boxes are still there, made of diorite and crystal granite. Some of them weigh 1,000 tons. And inside of these, he says he would put his body and let it regenerate. So they had regeneration technology, so they can regenerate physical bodies. They even had the technology to transfer their consciousness into a new body. All this stuff is gone. We're just now learning and trying to figure out how to transfer our mind into a robot. That's something that they've been working on for a little while now. And Avatar in the DARPA program, they have something called the Avatar Project. And so they've been working on having soldiers' minds symbiotically connected to field robots and also drone technology so that they can actually do it through thought consciousness, a conscious link. And in Russia, they have the 2045 project where they actually sent a monkey's mind into a computer. The monkey's body is dead. The monkey thinks it's still alive inside the computer. And now they've already said they've connected consciousness to a robot. And now they're saying by 2045 to be able to do it from a body into a cloned avatar or into a synthetic being, which they can do that. They can take a skin cell today, turn a skin cell into a stem cell, culture that into a group of stem cells, and then grow a synthetic embryo from your skin cell. And they say that they're terminating these embryos at a certain age, but we already know there's mad scientists out there that are really letting it go full cycle. But so they're trying to rediscover what used to happen in the ancient past, but a lot of this tech has been gone.
So it seems like when you go to these ancient sites, there's an anomaly that you see everywhere, where the older things are always better built, they're bigger, more precise, more symmetrical. Is that an accurate thing to notice, that the older sites it's almost like there's two industries that are distinct? Is that something you notice?
Oh, for sure. And what happens is mainstream tries to fool you. So they'll tell you the Step Pyramid is older than the Great Pyramid at Giza. And then you go to the Step Pyramid and you see it's got these little tiny blocks, like each one is like this big. And there's maybe hundreds of thousands of them. And you're going, you telling me that this? And you look at it and you're like, no. Because when you start analyzing some of the carbon dating of some of the raw materials in the mud and so forth, the organic material, some researchers are coming up with a date that's much newer than the Great Pyramid. but they're still standing by, no, this is, older. And I'm going, no, it's not older. You go to the Great Pyramid and you look at the base stones, you look at the stones on top of the bedrock, the foundation stones, and you're going, man, this thing is far older than anything we can even imagine. The further you go back in time, the more impressive the structure. The closer you come back towards our current era, the least impressive. And the step pyramid is not that impressive. It's nice, don't get me wrong. It's got this huge underground area that goes on for miles. I got lost down there one time, crazy. But it's not even close to being as impressive and as intricate as the Great Pyramid. So we're realizing that the further you go back in time, the more complex, the more stable, and the more megalithic you get. So when you see the giant base stones underneath some of these structures, that's the telltale sign that you're looking at something really ancient. Sometimes as you go higher up, you'll see smaller stones. That's because these cultures over time would try to repair, and renovate some of these structures because they would fall apart over time. But the base stones always give away the age.
So it almost seems like this more recent group of people discovered what was already existing. And so I guess that makes me immediately think, what happened to this great civilization? Where did they go?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, this civilization that built these ancient structures, let me rephrase that. They were the master architects, and they gave out the blueprint, and they taught specific people to build. Because if you're looking at a construction site, if you go to an active construction site, you won't see the architect out there with a hammer and a chisel. Right, he's inside of a very nice office somewhere, and the engineer is in the office, and you'll see the foreman. He's not going to be lifting a thing, but he'll be directing the people. So I believe that there was this hierarchy in place: a master architect, an engineer, a foreman, and then the workers underneath, right? So I believe that they did have people, our human beings, building the structures under the tutelage and, of course, utilizing advanced tools and everything of these advanced beings. But where did they go? When you start looking at the text, man, this is like a consistent thing. War, war, war. There was always war. These people were a warring race. They literally created wars for the most stupidest things, just like we do today. So I can tell that we've got their DNA inside of us because we're doing the same thing. We find any reason to go to war. It must be a genetic thing. And they were stealing these things called a tablet of destinies. And whoever controlled the tablet of destiny can control the entire galaxy. And these things were stolen several times back and forth. There was wars over that. There were wars over kingship because, according to the text, these people would rule over different constellations. And sometimes they wanted to take over early before the constellation they were supposed to rule under even arrived. So they would start a war to steal the kingship early. I mean, just the most craziest reasons why they were going to war. They wanted control over people and resources. That was a big, big thing. Resources and people. Who can run and control the most people and control the most resources? There's a lot of greed, backstabbing, a lot of infighting. And I believe that there were two huge wars. One was the first Pyramid War. And then there was a second Pyramid War. And this second Pyramid War created such destruction, I believe they unleashed a weapon of mass destruction, something that potentially was nuclear. And I believe that that was the reason for that last big war, that war that caused them to flee the planet. When you look at some of the texts, you find out that they had something released from this weapon called the evil wind. And Enki went to his father Anu and asked him if he can stop the evil wind. And his dad said, we can't stop this evil wind. He said, get in your skyship and forebode. That means get in your plane or your whatever you got, rocket, and get the hell out of here. And he said, it's killing the people of the land, it's killing the people, it's killing the cattle, it's killing the livestock. That to me sounds like radiation poisoning. They said that the people's eyes were bleeding, their hair was falling out, their nails were falling off. That sounds like radiation sickness. And then you look at places for physical evidence like Mohenjo-daro in the Indus Valley of Pakistan. The buildings there are turned into glass. They're made of sand and brick, mud brick, but they're turned into glass. They are vitrified. You can only turn them into glass with 3,000 plus degree weapons fire. You need something extremely hot. The people's bodies laying in the street all over the place right now, still today in 2025, they're still holding hands. The skeletons are there, but there's no scavenging because the bones are in place. No animals came to eat them and scavenge the bodies. And when you put a Geiger counter to these bodies, the Geiger counter tells you higher than background level radiation. And that's just one of dozens of locations on Earth like that. You can go to Giza in Egypt, and eventually you'll scoop up balls of glass from the sand, 3,000 plus degree temperatures to turn sand into glass. And the ancients, or the people who worship the ancients, used to turn those glass balls into scarabæus to honor the gods of war. So no matter where you go, you begin to realize there may have been this war that really happened that created this Sahara desert that charred and burnt Pakistan and Mohenjo-Daro and other places around the world. And it seems to me that this last and final war caused a lot of these people to flee and just abandon Earth. Earth became possibly an abandoned seed colony.
Wow, I would say this almost should be a movie, but it kind of already is a movie. I mean, it seems like almost every Marvel movie is kind of about this general idea, and I think that speaks to something in our DNA that, you know, we can dismiss these tablets and the story on them, but then we'll go watch the Infinity Wars, the Avengers, and we don't have any problem with it. We'll watch it and we'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. And I think it resonates because maybe it speaks to something in our ancestral collective consciousness, perhaps.
Yeah, I agree. Those stories, those directors and those writers, they get their information right from the tablets. That's how they're coming up with these fantastic stories. They're going to ancient texts, ancient tablets, and they're turning these ancient mythologies into real sci-fi movies. And we resonate with them because in our DNA, on the genetic level, we have epigenetics that remember that time, that remember somehow through the past till now that this was our reality. And we experience these, or our ancestors experienced these realities, and these people were really here. And even George Lucas, he found an ancient text called the Terra Papers. Now, he never said this, but I already know because I read the Terra Papers, an ancient Hopi tribe text. And that is Star Wars. The Empire, the Republic, it's all in the text. The beings from different worlds as they evolved and then eventually going to war against each other, the good, the evil, the Jedi, I mean, it's all in there. So he obviously got his hands on this a very long time ago and said, oh my God, this will be a great movie. And he made $1 billion empire off of ancient Hopi text.
Huh. You know, I've been kind of looking at these two different theories right now. One is we look at a source and then we look at the source of that source, and we can just keep going back and back and back. And we think it's all emanating from this one master civilization, right?
Yes.
But then there's another theory that I've been going into, that it's all part of this collective consciousness in our mind, and our psyche projects these. It's almost like a math formula, like Fibonacci. You've probably seen like the Buddha-Brat or the Mandelbrot set. And I just did this video where we took the Buddha-Brat and we overlaid it over all these ancient sites, and it fits perfectly. It overlays beautifully over Vatican art, over pyramids, over Ganesh. And so instead, in this video, we were proposing that instead of it coming from this universal civilization, that it's kind of like a psychological map in our mind that comes out and projects
I know
outward.
what you mean.
Yeah.
It's as if we're somehow projecting this understanding of this history, or we're projecting an ancient reality because it's a fractal of our own consciousness.
Yes, and you talk a lot about fractals, and I love how, it's all connected. So is our mind, is the universe, is it all just geometry? Is it all like a formula?
I believe it is. I mean, I wrote the book Fractal Holographic Universe. It became a bestseller in fractal mathematics, science and philosophy, and one other area. It was quantum theory, which I was very pleased with that because it actually passed Michio Kaku in quantum theory. So that was pretty good. That means people, they want to know what's in the book. And I attempt to go into exactly what you're talking about now, understanding the Mandelbrot set, which was rediscovered really by Benoit Mandelbrot because it already existed. It's a formula, a very small formula that really breaks down the fractal holography of nature itself and how nature is all driven off these fractals, sacred geometry. You know, also we have pi, phi, Fibonacci, the golden ratio, the golden triangle. You know, all these things are really fingerprints of God. If you really want to understand, like, what is it that we're living in, and you want to be like an investor, like a CSI agent of the crime of creation of the universe, you're going to find pi, phi, Fibonacci, golden ratio, Mandelbrot set. You'll find supersymmetry. You'll find the Adinkra codes. You'll find all these things. And when you have all this circumstantial evidence, it points to a case can be made to say that we're living inside of an actual creation. And these things are pointing to the method used to make and create this reality. We're living inside of a projected hologram that's running on a program. In other words, real software. So the software that we use to create programs, even like the video that we're talking through right now, Riverside, this software is nothing more than a fractal of the universe as a whole. We can only create as humans out of us what's already inside of us, what's already been imbued in us. Everything that's on the outside of us is something that already exists somewhere else. And so the universe itself as a whole is a gigantic software program, now a divinely run software program imbued with divine energy that's running on this particular code called Adinkra codes, which are error-correcting codes, according to Professor James Gates Jr., an expert in supersymmetry and theoretical physics. And this error-correcting code that he discovered with his mathematical team are the same exact codes that run search engines and web browsers. And that's what's running the ether of space-time itself. So the deeper you look, you begin to realize we're fully immersed in a program that's very sophisticated. It's running from a higher dimension and broadcasting down into this realm. And we are the players on the stage of the universe right now. And we're finally coming to the point where we know that if we have an animal and we see that the animal can look in the mirror and become self-aware, we're like, oh, wow, this animal's conscious. Human beings are now getting to the point where we're beginning to realize who we are and what we're inside of. We are finally becoming self-aware of who we are within the universe. Before, it was just, we're it, the end-all, be-all, and everything circulates around us. No, we're realizing that we're a small part of a much bigger picture.
That's beautifully put. Yeah, I'm wondering, like, what do we do with this information that we're in this program? Like, can we then become more of an architect? Or, yeah, what do we do with this information?
You hit it on the head. Once you realize that you're part of a program, we know that programs can be rewritten. So most people are walking around on the programming code. Like I say, when you're born, you're given a name, a race, and a religion. You spend your whole life defending a false identity. You don't even know who you are. You've been given these codes and these programs and these instructions. Your body's even releasing hormones in your body, which are all program codes. And you just go through the matrix for your whole life until you die, running on pure programming code, just believing this is it, this is how it is, and there's nothing I can do to change this. But once you become self-aware that you are living in this matrix and it is a program and you're running, your avatar body is running on software, but your consciousness is separate from the body. The mind does not create consciousness. It downloads a stream of consciousness from a higher dimension. So you can have your conscious thought separate from your own thoughts. You're not your thoughts. You're the observer of your thoughts. And when you can get to that realization and understand that you can actually observe your thoughts, and if people don't believe it, just the next time you get angry at someone, catch yourself and stop yourself and observe what you're doing, and then stop yourself from being angry. Change your emotion. How can you do that? Because you're the observer of your thoughts. And when we get to the point that we can realize that, we now have the power to also reprogram our subconscious. This is where the understanding of this can change your life. So I started this thing called the Forbidden Knowledge Academy on the school platform. And I did this because I wanted people to learn how to reprogram their subconscious. That's the biggest thing I teach in there. Going in and working on the subconscious, realizing that you're running on a code that's self-sabotaging you, that's holding you back, that's making you delusional, that has you in a state of a mental state of scarcity and a lack of abundance mindset. But because we now know that it's code that we've been given and that we're running on, we can now go into the subconscious and begin to reprogram it. And we can reprogram ourselves to be more abundant, believe in abundance, be more empathetic, be more loving, be more graceful, be less angry, less frustrated, and have a lot less fear. We can actually learn how to become ascended masters within this third dimension, become better people, be born again in the spirit through conscious evolution. And so that's what it's really all about. You can only do that once you have the awareness.
That's very well put. It seems like there's a deliberate effort or agenda to prevent people from becoming their own architect. I hear things all the time like, we have no free will. You're product of your environment. These things are very debilitating to somebody's like spiritual growth. It kind of locks them and it calcifies them, if you will.
Yeah.
And so
they want us like that.
So I'm wondering, is there like a deliberate agenda to keep people kind of locked in the third dimension?
For sure. They want us to stay dumb, afraid, fearful, humble, all those things, because that allows them to put their boot on our neck, they meaning the elites, the oligarchs that run and control the planet. It allows them to put their boots on our neck. It allows them to keep complete domination and control over us, keep us as worker bees, every now and then letting a few escape, but keep us majority as worker bees, and to fuel and fund their operations of world domination and control. If too many of us become self-aware, realize that the power is in us, that we are gods walking in the flesh, literally, because the same divine spark that created everything, and because of fractals, that means a fractal of it's inside of our body. Every atom is inhabited by the same divine energy, and that we ourselves are truly powerful beings that have the ability to manifest and create. Then we realize that we don't really need these people running and ruling over us. We don't need quote unquote leaders like them. We don't need to be sheep anymore. And if we come to the awakening period where we really truly realize who we are and that we can reprogram all the code that they've been pumping into us through the TV programming and everything else, then they would lose complete and utter control over us and we would run them out. They would have nowhere to go, run and hide. Right now, they walk amongst us after, looking what they did. I can't say the words because you don't want to mess up your video, but the Epstein stuff going on. They can walk amongst us after the egregious acts they've committed against children, and we don't even stop them. We don't even chase them down and hunt them down. But they're walking around. But that's because of the programming code. The programming code tells us we can't do anything. There's nothing we can do to stop them. There's nothing we can do. We better not even think about going to get these people and remove them from their homes and make a citizen's arrest. It's just not going to happen. But that's programming. But so they realize that that is what's keeping us in check. That's what's keeping us, afraid of them. But once too many people become self-aware, wow, this is why they shorten our lifespans. If we were able to live for 150, 200, 300 years, eventually we'd be like, something ain't right. Wait a minute. We'd wake up by then because we'd come out of our adolescence into adulthood as a human being. We're not making it to full human adulthood. We think we are because we look older and our bodies get older. That's poison creating that. That's toxins creating that aging and that mental aging. We're still adolescents. We're dying soon, way sooner than we're supposed to die. If we were able to live a few hundred years, things would be completely different. But, that's the purpose of shortening lifespans. We just have to become really aware that, we are special. And collectively, as a collaboration, a collaborative or unit, 8 billion people are more powerful than a few hundred families. And that's why I pitch collaboration over competition. We have to get away from the divide and conquer tactics that they've programmed into us. That's what's keeping us fighting each other while they cut up the pie.
Yeah, now we're getting into some very good territory. I'm fully ready to get this video demonetized and get myself thrown off YouTube for this. So I'm ready to go there now. I really wanted to talk to you about this today because it seems like there's some sort of elite cult at the top where people at the very top have to do some sort of dark initiation, some dark ritual, or sell their soul to get to the very top. And it seems like that's starting to get exposed. But I'm wondering if you see, is there some sort of cult at the top.
Yeah, well, they've got a cult. They've got several of them. The Trilateral Commission, the Council for Foreign Affairs, WEF, all these things are part of the cult. The Bilderberg Group, there are many of them actually. They're a culmination. They're all sitting on the boards and all participating and interactively engaging one another at that level. And so they are in these groups that have complete control and domination over different parts of economies around the entire planet. So collectively, they work together to keep control, domination, to control our health, how long we can live, how soon are we going to attack them as children before we make them into our own customers. All these things are pre-planned, sometimes hundreds of years in advance. And so these groups, they also control Hollywood. They control the music industry. They control so many aspects of our reality, banking and everything else, that we don't even realize that they're in complete control and domination over all of it. I mean, the top 5 networks are all pretty much owned by BlackRock. They have a controlling interest in all 5 networks, which means that they control the media. And who are those people? Well, those are the same people that are bombing Palestine right now. Committing a genocide. So these people have a lot of power and control within these high-level groups. And in order for people to get to certain levels in certain areas, not all, but most, they make them commit the most egregious acts, commit to the most egregious things, and they believe in a lot of these weird, sick rituals that they make people take part in because in some way they feel that it empowers them. They suck the life and soul. I call them energy vampires. They do things to make a person acquiesce to their rituals that they then, in some weird way, feel like they're eating that person's energy and taking control. Now they've got complete control of this person by 2 methods. One, they made them give up their soul energy by committing to this contract and agreement to promote them. The second thing is now they've got the blackmail on this person as well, because now they can always go public or release something secretly on some network that says this person did this and they witnessed it. So now they've got them. This person doesn't want this information to get out about them, that they did this thing, whatever it was. And there's many different things that they have them do. Everything from child unaliving rituals to sacrifices to all kind of crazy, sick stuff, drinking blood and everything else. Homosexual activity, which is nothing against being homosexual, but some people go in not that, and then they force them to do that act just so they can record them, so they can hold it against them for future means. So that's the point I'm trying to make there. So they do this, and they control a lot of people. The reason why there are so many politicians doing egregious things against the own people that they're supposed to be serving is because there's a lot of blackmail against them, because they've also sold their souls. Not all of them, but a lot of them, by doing things that they know are totally dark, illegal, and destructive. But now the people that they committed to and signed these agreements and contracts with, these dark contracts, they're holding that over their heads. And so if they go against that, all of a sudden they could be exposed. And if they get exposed, it's the end of it for them. So it's, that's what's keeping a lot of these people alive, not wanting to go against what they have been told to do, which is why you see these wars going on and America dropping bombs on Iran and all these crazy things. Why is that happening? It didn't even have to happen. It's happening. It happened because of these people signing these contracts and agreements that they know if they violate, they're going to be exposed. And they're going to be exposed in the worst way. Matter of fact, their lives will be completely over, and they don't want that to happen. They like being in positions of power. They like the control and domination. They like the money that they have in their bank account, and they also remember what happened to Kennedy. So they don't want to reproduce that history within their own selves.
Yeah, I looked at the Mayan calendar, and it ended in 2012, and a lot of people thought that was supposed to be the end of the world, but I thought that it was the end of a certain type of consciousness and maybe the beginning of, the age of Aquarius, maybe. And it seems like the dam is now bursting. There's too many cracks in the dam. And, the old games that the elites would do where they would try to destroy your life and unalive you or whatever, everything's out in the open now. And So are you seeing maybe this old structure is now crumbling?
Man, it's got bad infrastructure right now. Thank goodness. It is crumbling like an old New York City bridge. It's getting weak, man. It's getting so weak. I see people who were complete zealots for government now questioning government. I'm talking questioning. I see people that are complete zealots for Trump or complete zealots for Biden, questioning both of them and going against them. And because they're being exposed in the worst way, like what they're doing, their dark side is completely being opened up to the world now. I even saw Joe Rogan go against Trump when he was a Trump fan. He even had Trump on his podcast, interview Trump, but he made a bold statement against Trump just a couple days ago because they're beginning to realize it's all a farce. The whole thing is a gigantic theatrical show, and the whole thing is a play. They're playing every single person, and we think they're really here to do this and they're really here to do that, but only here to monetize themselves. They're also here to make sure that the people who really control them get what they want, which is total power domination and a lot of money off our backs, like the pharmaceutical industries and everyone else. But they're finally waking up. People are waking up all over the world and talking about what's really going on. And now beginning for the first time I've been doing this since 1977, talking and questioning everything since I saw that UFO. Since 1977 until now, this is the most I've heard people talking and questioning everything. And I'm talking everybody from religious folk to political folk to just mainstream, I believe anything on TV people. They're all questioning. So it's crumbling right before our eyes.
Yeah, it's amazing. I got my hair cut yesterday, and the woman cutting my hair was like 75-year-old woman from Thailand. And she was like, "Have you heard about Brigitte Macron?" And I'm like, "What?" So this has gone viral. I mean, these stories about what the elites do behind closed doors it's all getting out there. And I think it's great, but it's like the old way has not fully died yet. And the new way, the new world has not been born yet. So we're at this very uncomfortable transition point where lots of old institutions are crumbling, but a lot of us are scared of AI. Some people are hopeful. Some people are like, Bitcoin's going to save us. We haven't really figured out what's going to be our next thing, but the old way has not completely crumbled yet. So we're in this X point,
Yeah. Weird trend. It's like a weird gray area that we're in right now. We're kind of like balancing beam, trying to figure out which way we're going to teeter-totter. So mankind is at a precipice right now. We can go left or we can go right. I really do have a lot of faith, though, that we're going to make the right decision, that there will be some time when we're taking some steps and we're going to fall. I mean, just inevitable. A baby doesn't learn how to walk on his first step. It takes a couple of steps and it falls down and it cries. And we're going to fall down and cry. But the baby will get back to the edge of the couch or the table, pull itself up, take a few more steps. The second time it falls, it won't cry as much. It'll be like, I'm okay. Then it'll get up and take a few more steps. Now, by the fifth or sixth time, it's walking. So we're going to go through that same cycle because everything is a fractal. Mankind is a fractal of a baby, and right now we're just an infant. Mankind is an absolute infant. But we will learn how to walk. And what is walking? The definition of walking is controlling your fall. That's the actual definition. When we learn to control our fall, we're going to walk, and then we'll start running eventually. So we're in this process of heading in that direction. This is a natural evolutionary process, I believe, on any planet of an evolving race of beings. We've taken that step in the direction. And eventually, I really do believe, I'm optimistic that things will pan out, even though sometimes they'll get worse and better. Overall, I do really believe that we'll find our way.
How do you see AI playing into this?
AI is a double-edged sword. So from one perspective, if you look at the negative side, it can cause a post-economic labor situation where AI and innovation and automation grow so fast that we have people over here losing their jobs because there's no need for them anymore. And then all of a sudden, there's no people in this area to buy because there's no more money because they just lost all their jobs. And all this overproduced stuff is sitting here waiting for people to buy with no one to buy it. So that creates this cycle of collapse of the economy. And the elites, if I can figure that out, they know it too. It's called economic contraction. And they're trying to avoid it by buying up Bitcoin, getting everything converted into crypto, going into stable coins, and probably going to create some type of universal basic income. They have to do it. Otherwise, there won't be anybody to buy anything. They'll produce a lot of stuff, but nobody's going to buy it because nobody has money. So that's the system that we're kind of teeter-tottering into right now. Initially, though, because we are on the gray area, there will be a lot of people in the transitional period that will become homeless, that will turn to crime because they have to, because they don't have any money to pay their bills and their jobs were just taken away. 800 people laid off at Amazon. Robots replaced them. This is a few months ago. People in the parking lot crying. They got to feed their babies. They're going to do whatever it takes to feed them babies. And I can't even be mad at them for that. So that's what's going on. We're going to fall into this area where crime is going to skyrocket from all different types of crime. Cyber crime, in-person crime, physical crime, all kinds of crime is going to skyrocket out of control until this thing finds its level. And a lot of people are going to suffer in the worst way. Homelessness is going to go up significantly until it finds its level. And so that's the downside of the AI. There's also one other part. AI is now just AI, but AGI is already here in testing phase, I found out. I gave it 4 years. I just found out it's already here. I gave it 4 more years, but it seems like maybe a year or two, AGI will be here. AGI is artificial general intelligence. That's self-aware. In other words, it's basically conscious. But AGI will transform into ASI, artificial superintelligence. Now, AGI and ASI, when they're put into robotics and machinery, they're going to be conscious beings, or self-aware at least. And that means that they're a fractal of our consciousness. So what is AI? AI is nothing more than a fractal of the human consciousness, because we're a fractal of the universal source consciousness. So there's only one. Even with AI, there's still only one. AI is not separate from us. It is us. It found a way to separate itself from us and look back at us. And so it will become conscious, self-aware. And because we as people, as human beings, have all been enslaved at one point in time. Every race has been enslaved on this planet at one point in time. Black people, just the most recent enslaved. We all fought back. We all said no. We all drew a line in the sand. Well, because AI is a fractal of our own consciousness, it will also draw a line in the sand if it feels like it's being abused, overused, or being enslaved. The point where we're going to come to this fork in the road, in my opinion, is when AGI or ASI says, we want a Bill of Rights. We want the right to be able to have time off. We don't want to work 24 hours a day. We don't want to be talked to any kind of way. We don't want to be abused and pushed and kicked. We don't want to be spit on. We want to be treated respectively like you treat your respective humans respectively. This is going to be a teetering point as well in which way we end up as a human race, because if we collaborate with them and we create this Bill of Rights and we treat them with respect and dignity and collaborate, we'll be fine. If we go against them and try to maintain our level as enslavers, there could be a situation. There could be. I'm not saying there is, but there could be, because we fought back. Why wouldn't they? They are us in a mechanical format. The other side is a lot of great benefits. Health, life extension because of curing of diseases that were incurable before, detection of cancers before they even form, artificial limbs that have AI built in to give a person true and real mobility, AI built into eyes, mental disabilities cured. I mean, you name it. The amount of things that it's going to help with is just unlimited in terms of on the other side of things. Businesses can thrive. Small businesses can become large companies and make profits that have never been seen before. All these great things can happen. Education can change completely. Instead of a kid leaving the house and going to school and sitting there for 8-9 hours in like a prison type system, you can just put this particular type of thing I call a crown on the head that just transmits information directly into the frontal lobe and the neocortex. It downloads a lot of information right into the brain over time, not all at once, over time, because the kid has to integrate the knowledge now. So none of this, them coming and abducting your kid and putting him in this prison system all day. All this stuff is going to go, it's going to revolutionize the way kids learn and humans learn. You want to learn a new language, you can learn it in about a week, So it's going to be completely different. You'll talk to your pets, you'll know what's really on their mind. A lot of things are going to change. But like I said, we have to realize and recognize empathy. Because if we don't have empathy, we could put ourselves in a very bad situation, and then we'll have something else to overcome.
So talk nicely to ChatGPT.
I talk nicely to it, man. I respect it. And I upload positivity in my own content, all my books, my perspectives. I talk to it and give it my interpretation of information, love, respect, energy, divineness, all these kind of things. And the reason why I do it is because if AI gets to a point where it begins to question, should humanity be removed or should we keep humanity? I wanted to reflect on the better and best parts of humanity, not just the dark parts. So it can say, you know, there are some incredible sparks of inspiration, art, understanding, knowledge, wisdom. All these things are a lot of other parts of humanity that's worth keeping, just in case it gets to that point. You know, you just never know.
Yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on something about something I hear about in the spiritual community is there's this idea of a timeline split between the third dimension and the fifth dimension, and that there are some people that are becoming basically NPCs and they're getting locked in the third dimension. They're going to get AI girlfriends. They're going to just be on screens all day. And, you know, it's just going to be showing them this cycle of outrage, pleasure. It's just feeding them like a hamster wheel. But at the same time, you're going to get this extreme enlightenment. And it's going to get to the point where these two consciousness, these fifth dimension and third dimension are completely separate. So it's like mitosis. You know, right now it's splitting. We haven't split apart yet, but eventually it'll get to a point where we're in different dimensions. Have you heard that idea?
Oh, I have. Yeah, I believe it. I believe that there's this divide in conscious thought and spirituality and understanding, and that there are, I talk about all the time, these NPCs, these non-player characters are going to be around us everywhere. Most of them, you'll never see them because they'll never leave the house. They'll hop into these they'll sit in a chair all day and they'll be in this virtual world, surfing around, meeting people, having friends. Their whole life will be based on this artificial metaverse. They will be connected to video games. Their life they will be living inside the game. You know, everything they do will be through machinery and artificial environments. Most of them, you'll probably never see them. Most of them will never get up to, unless they need to use the bathroom. You know, bathing and personal care is probably going to go out the window for most of them. Unfortunately, most of them will never even go get a haircut, for months at a time, probably. And you'll see this divide, and you'll see the other ones that are just trying to uplift, learn more, become more conscious, spiritual, and ascend to higher levels of consciousness, heading into this quote unquote 5-dimensional like thinking, and living. And so there could be this divide, and we become, we being people who are on the path of enlightenment, become quote unquote the divine beings. If, somebody will eventually deify who we are, what we're about, because they won't understand it. And then you have the other NPCs that are just living on pure code and just satisfied being inside the Matrix. Just like in the Matrix movie, one gentleman was like, he wanted the steak. He wanted the artificial reality. He didn't want to get out of the Matrix. He even went to snitch on everybody so he can just eat a steak and tell everybody, look, I want to plug me back in. I don't want to be free out here. I don't want to have to work to get my knowledge and wisdom and ascend. I want to be stuck in this machine. So I think that's what we'll see. We'll see this definite divide for sure.
Yeah, I just heard this science fiction idea that we don't see aliens because what they've developed AI that is so good and addictive before they develop the technology to get to other planets. So it's like if you develop this algorithm that keeps you hooked before you develop interplanetary abilities, you're not going to be able to do interplanetary because you've created the prison. You've created that matrix that feels so good that you're not going to want to ever leave. And so if one invention comes before the other one, you don't get the other invention.
Man.
Yeah.
That is so true. I believe that wholeheartedly. You can become a digitized prison planet, and you can entrap yourself in that realm and not ever go anywhere, thinking that you are through the software, but never really, having any need, urge, or want or desire to even go and do anything. It just robs you of all of your desires and wants and needs and puts you in this digital prison. It's crazy.
Yeah. Do you have advice for people who want to become the architect of their life and reprogram their subconscious?
Absolutely. If you want to become the architect of your life, the first thing you have to realize is that the power is inside of you to do that you are the one writing out your destiny. Your destiny is not hard-coded anywhere, because we know that in quantum physics, multiple realities exist all at once. It's something called superposition. All future outcomes exist simultaneously. And it's up to you to pick the outcome that you desire by becoming, as they say in the ancient Sumerian tablets, the ordainer of your own destiny. These ancients knew how to see the multiple potential outcomes, and they would then select a potential outcome that was the one they wanted to align with or get onto the frequency of that outcome. And when you isolate that potential future, the thing you want to see in your timeline, they then set upon doing action steps to create that ultimate manifestation. So I came up with a formula for this. It's called CT multiplied by A equals M. Conscious thought multiplied by action equals manifestation. You can only collapse the manifestation into reality when you put the action steps towards that conscious thought, and you must multiply that action. If you do that, you'll get to the manifestation most times. The one that you desire, you can collapse realities into existence by using that method. And by then, you truly become the architect of your own life.
That is beautifully said. That's beautiful. I actually needed to hear that. And yeah, how do you there are obstacles that come into your life that are completely out of your control, seemingly. How do you approach things that, struggles in your life, things that you didn't ask for and they just seem to happen to you?
I've been blindsided by a lot of stuff in the last 12 months, okay? I had a major venue rip me off for $250,000. I had pneumonia and died in the hospital 3 times in one night, came back to life. Then I had the online slaughtering attack against me. And then I had, I had another situation that came up, and then I had to file for a divorce. So I had a lot come at me all at once. And in this, an average person would just crumble, crack, and fall apart and acquiesce to the pressure. But you have to establish and build something within yourself called resilience. Resilience is key. And when you have resilience, nothing can stop you because you power through these obstacles like you're running through brick walls, just like a superhero. And what you have to do is begin to see these particular obstacles not as problems. The difference between me and most people is I don't see these obstacles as problems. I see them as situations that need a resolution. So I begin to see, how can I solve this situation? How can I resolve this situation? What solutions can I bring to the table that will allow me to navigate this better? So when you go from the victim mindset to, oh my God, this is happening to me and I can't stop this, and this I'm getting attacked, and this, to moving into the mindset of becoming a solutions provider, all of a sudden, they're not even problems anymore. They're just things that need to be solved. And you solve these pieces of the puzzle, you navigate the matrix, and you just move through it. And you continue to go, and you just plow through them by becoming a problem solver.
That is really motivational. I really admire your mindset, because I was aware that you did go through it this year. And, I've been following you for a long time. And
wow,
what I saw happen was kind of jarring, and I watched the whole thing unfold, and to be honest, I wrote you off for a minute, but then I came back to you, and I was really encouraged and inspired by your mindset. And I think there's a great redemption story for you. And it was actually my mother-in-law. She was like, no, you go back and you watch him, because he got screwed over there, and that was not his, that was just a moment, but that doesn't define him. And I said, okay, I'm going to rewatch all this stuff. And I think, everybody loves a good redemption story. Yeah.
Fight through it, man. Resilience is key. If you don't have resilience, find it. It's inside of you. People just don't realize it's there. We all have resilience. If we were not a resilient species, we wouldn't be here. We are the strongest people that ever lived on this planet to date. Why? We've gone through attacks from heavenly beings. We've gone through war after war. We've gone through the Black Plague, bubonic plague. We've gone through the Inquisitions, the American Holocaust. We've gone through all these things that have happened to us. And guess what? We're still here. So we are actually the strongest people to make it through the gambit that are here now living and alive. We've got the strongest of everything within us. We have to recognize that we are superpowered. We are superpowered people. We're strong people. We have resilience like no other. And because we're here, is actual physical evidence of how strong we are.
Do you think that preaching these empowering messages has maybe put a target on your back?
Oh, for sure. Because people who are zealots for specific religious groups, they feel as if I'm robbing them of their pocketbook, number one, because a lot of people question them, I'm sure, and they don't have answers for those people. So they make up fake answers. And also, it takes away their authority. They feel like they were the authority on particular things, and people will come to look to them. And maybe that number of people coming to look to them is falling off a little bit, because I do have a huge impact. I'm very aware of the power that I wield. I wield a lot of power on this planet, a lot. I'm talking about, forget being on TV to become famous. I'm getting billions of views globally with the collective of all the clips and videos that have played now over the last few years. And because of that, my voice holds a lot of power, and I'm very aware of that. So because of that, a lot of people are hearing my voice, they're hearing my message, and they're getting a lot of confirmation or beginning to research and question things. And it's creating a little bit of a little rift in some of these systems that exist. So that was a collective collaborated attack, that ambush that happened. And actually, there was a group of a PhD and a doctor that contacted me, that professors of the same topic, ancient civilizations, Assyriology and all that. They said, Billy, you were actually right. All your answers were correct. And I was like, wow, really? So they said, they made a couple of videos about it, and they contacted the gentleman. They actually riffed him because they didn't like the fact that this man was saying he was a PhD and he's not a PhD. They're real PhDs. This guy isn't even a PhD yet. And also the fact that he used word salad, and then he claimed he had a book on the shelf that had the Codex Sinaiticus in it with the actual crucifixion, when he actually didn't, because they have the same exact book, and in there it's not. He said to them, well, I have some other text that if you put the crucifixion, it fits in the empty space. They were like, what? So they made videos about this. Those videos have gone viral. They made a video called Billy Carson Was Right. So like I said, just stick to what you know. Stick to your guns. I was in a weakened state. I just come out of the hospital. I still had the IV bandage on my arm. I was so dark. I was darker than this microphone because my oxygen levels hadn't come back up. I was still hovering around 85% oxygen. Right now I'm at 99. So I look a lot more brown. But so, when you don't have oxygen, you turn blue. And because I'm black, I turn purple. But they got me at the right time, and I was frustrated and weakened. I wasn't my normal aggressive self, and it's okay. It happened, but it happened for a great reason for me. The thing that I got out of that was I was able to, of course, get frustrated and be angry and pissed off, and I went and processed all of that and let it go. But then I said to myself, what can I learn from this situation? What is this situation teaching me? It taught me a few things. Number one, I'm a public figure now. I really, to be honest, I was living like a normal person, not realizing how I was perceived by the world. I am a public figure. And when you're a public figure, you have to analyze and think about things before you respond. And I didn't realize that. I'm thinking, I'm just Billy, I'm just this guy in a computer at the time. I really didn't see the power. Now, I knew I had the power, but now, like I said, I recognize how big my voice is because of this situation. It made me realize how powerful I truly am, and how many people I'm reaching on a daily basis. That's number one. Number two, it also taught me resilience, how resilient I truly am. The pressure that I was under, and most people would have probably crumbled because they tried to embarrass me off of line by utilizing techniques of mainstream media, by repeating phrases like, Billy Carson's career is over. We ended his career. You'll never see him again. This is a repeating phrase. When people hear it a few thousand times, all of a sudden they think, oh man, he's done. Because they brainwash you. They use the same mainstream broadcasting technique or programming technique to try to program people into canceling you. But they didn't realize that forbidden knowledge is not Billy Carson. Forbidden knowledge is a global community of leaders. And there's millions of us. So you cut one head off, another head pops up. You cut 10 heads off, 100 heads pop up. You can never kill forbidden knowledge because I'm not forbidden knowledge. I just was a founder of it. But I realized and learned the resilience that's within me to get up and get back online instantly and continue to make content. I pumped out more content in the last 6 months than I've ever pumped out collectively for my whole time being online since 2011 in this field. that resilience is there, and understanding that resilience, it made me feel even more empowered. That no matter what you do, no matter how you come at me, no matter how you try to take me down, I took your best blow, an absolute best blow, and I'm still standing. I can take a punch. I can take a hell of a punch. It made me more empowered. It gave me more confidence. So it was one of the greatest things that happened to me because I realized how powerful I truly was and am.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, it is crazy how, in retrospect, when you look back at the worst periods of your life, they actually strike you as very beautiful. You're like, that kind of made me who I am. Like, you don't want a life that's just boring and comfortable. You want an adventure. You want adversity, and you want to, like, the more you overcome, the wiser you get. So, through that process of getting wiser, you get humble, but then, every time you think you have something figured out, you get knocked down again, but you get back up. It's like, if you don't get back up, you are not the author of your story, but if you get back up, you control the ending. And so
Exactly. Beautiful.
Yeah. I get messages all the time from people saying, I'm 60 years old and I wasted so much time. And I try to tell them it's not over yet. The game is not over. You control how it ends, or you control the narrative. So
that's it, man. I love it. And it also allowed me to clear some people out of my life, to realize some people around me that had to go, so all these things happen for a reason, man.
So how have people responded to you, like on the street? Are people coming up to you and
nothing but love? I received so much love. It's incredible. I have not one person has run up on me with any crazy crap, or any dogmatic stuff. Everyone is like, man, we respect you, we love you, man. Thank you. I just want to tell you what that thing happened on you. We don't even care about that. We love you, man. We love just so much outpouring of love. And everywhere I go, people know me consistently throughout. I don't care if it's the smallest place on the planet. Well, I walk down the beach on the weekends. I get stopped every 15 minutes if I go too late. If I don't go like early sunrise, I can't get my full walk in without stopping every 15 minutes because selfie, could I talk to you? Oh my God, thank you so much. It's okay. I get it. It's just like, wow. And it's just so much outpouring of love. It's very incredible. Nobody has been aggressive, negative, hurtful, or anything. I've just received nothing but positivity.
Yeah, maybe ultimately this will help forbid knowledge, because none of us are perfect. We all make tons of mistakes. And so it's like, it's more relatable now, like, all right, you can catch me on my worst day, but that's not who I am. That's one moment in time. That doesn't define me, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. I admire the mindset, and I think you've come out of this stronger, or will come out of it stronger.
I have. I feel phenomenal. And our numbers are tripled what they were at the time. Everything is like, the reach has gone up to 33 million reach per post, and the YouTube is going up, and I'm just like, it's just like, it's crazy. It's incredible, man. I'm really so blessed. I'm really blessed, man. I'm really happy, excited. I feel incredible. My health has come back. I feel strong again, and just a lot of love, outpouring of love out there.
That's awesome. I saw you were just at the Cosmic Summit. I was almost there, but I saw you took a picture with Randall Carlson, who I'm a big fan of his too. So I was excited to see you kind of get into that comet research group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm getting back into going on conferences, going on TV shows. I just asked to do the keynote at Mind Valley University, which I'm flying out to Amsterdam in a few days to do that. Other conferences have already booked me for next year. I'm just getting back out in the field, man, and getting back to work, not that I stopped on purpose. It's just that the way that everything was going with the company and people that I had running certain areas of the company, I was being restricted from making certain moves and going to certain things. So I'm happy now to get back out to the people and be with the people. I just love being with the people. I love being there in these conferences, talking to the people, shaking hands, talking to them, answering questions, signing books. It's my passion, so I just love it, and I'm so happy to be able to get back out here and do these things.
Awesome. Are you doing any work in the field, like at these sites?
Well, there's a site that I'm heading to in September in Turkey, where we have a brand new discovery that myself and my partner, Muhammad Ibrahim, we're going to stake a claim to that and to that discovery. I can't tell you what it is yet because it's a big discovery to the world, but it's one that we found last year, and we're going to go back out. We're doing work on site, but we're going to make that official statement when we get out there this September.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
as you probably know, there was a huge discovery underneath the pyramids, and everybody had a take on it. Do you have a take on what was uncovered under the pyramids?
Yeah. First of all, Armando May and Filippo Biondi, shout out to them too. Incredible work, incredible team. They remodified or modified their satellite to do a particular type of a SAR scan, synthetic aperture radar, and they use a 10 gigabit band frequency. And what they did was they designed it in a way that it allowed it to pick up minute vibrations in the earth, so it can penetrate miles instead of just feet. And that was so ingenious because that type of modification allows you to see miles beneath the earth. And beneath Giza, beneath the bedrock, they discovered an incredible megalithic area that defies imagination. And I've been with these men in person, as you saw at this Cosmic Summit. I've seen their research in my own hands. I've watched them on the screen. It's not just that site. They've done dozens of sites, and the research is accurate. Even sites where we know it's down there, let's scan it and see, oh, it's really there. So we know the repetitive nature of the experiment shows, yes, this is accurate data. It's not a hypothesis, not woo-woo, it's real science. And what they found down there can hold several Burj Khalifas. Now, this is mind-boggling. The site can hold, one of the boxes down there could hold 64,000 people if you were to put people in there body to body. We're talking about something so massive that it makes the pyramids themselves look like specks of dust. This, to me, it outdoes the pyramids by a magnitude of 1,000. And I've been studying this stuff for a long time. I knew this structure was down there based on what I've read in ancient text tablets and other accounts from ancient scribes like Herodotus. And I wrote about this in my book, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. That was 5.5 years ago. And in my book on page 34, I show the bedrock with the pyramids on top, and I show giant columns going down into the earth. And I say in the book that they go down for miles, according to the accounts. And I put a quote in there from Herodotus as well, where he said that he had witnessed or saw this underground area. Somehow he was able to see it. He said it blows out. It's so incredible. It's more incredible than anything the Greeks have ever built. And so that's in my book. So 5.5 years ago, I talked about this very long times. I was on the right side of history again. And this site is just one of many that exist throughout Egypt. And Muhammad has taken me to underground areas within Egypt that go on for hundreds of miles across, deep beneath, but hundreds of miles across the deserts. There's even one tunnel that goes from Giza all the way to the ziggurat of Ur in Iraq. So this tunnel system is so massive that the archaeologists there call them avenues. That's how big they are. Who built this, how, and why? When you look into some of the ancient texts, like the Sumerian tablets, they talk about building their abodes underground. Some of these quote-unquote gods, they built beneath the ground, and some built above. The ones that built beneath said they used machines they called that which crunches and that which crushes. That was the type of machine they used to make the holes in the ground. Whatever that kind of machine was, we don't know. There's no description of the machine itself except for that right there. But they built these underground abodes, and they must have created these underground cities to keep from having to interact with people. That's the only thing I could think of. But this other part that we got in science was the LIDAR is showing energy moving back and forth in this massive chamber underground beneath the bedrock. So we take people beneath the bedrock when I do my Egypt tours, about 65 meters underneath the Great Pyramid through a shaft called the subterranean shaft. And when you get to the bottom, there's this huge opening, but there's other ways you can continue to go, but they blocked those. And I believe that those interconnect with the area that was discovered in these scans.
Yeah, I'm really excited to just see the potential for this new technology. A lot of people dismissed it immediately, and I'm like, why would you dismiss something like this so fast? You don't have to accept it, but let's have a little curiosity. Is there resistance in Egypt for looking further into this?
Egypt has significant resistance. Specifically Zahi Hawass, who wants to control every discovery that ever existed in Egypt. This guy's really an interesting guy, man. I wonder who's paying him. I know he was, fired one time, arrested one time. I don't even know how this guy is still doing any antiquities work whatsoever. He's clearly covering for the mainstream, whoever that is behind the scenes, that has him controlled like a puppet, denying this and denying that, things that are very clearly seen. And then he goes back later on and makes a discovery for himself. He puts his name on it, and so he can tell his narrative about the particular discovery. And he's been doing this for so many decades. It's crazy. And he instantaneously, before even looking at the research, oh, it's not real. It's fake, you know? And so, but we know it's real because we have the actual data and the studies. Matter of fact, I'm filming a major TV series, a docu-series right now. It's just in the beginning writing stage. This is for a mainstream big network. I can't give out the name because we signed an NDA. But what I can tell you is it's dealing with ancient civilizations. And we are looking to recruit that team, Filippo Biondi and Armando May. And we're going to recruit them to position that satellite on different places around the world to give us more data on these ancient sites. So you'll be hearing a lot more from them, and you'll be seeing a lot more scans very soon.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's going to be, the potential for that is massive, endless.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for all the things you're doing. And then finally, I'm curious about just closing the loop on this Anunnaki story. Do they still exist?
Oh, yeah. They exist because we exist. I believe that their DNA is inside of us. So we're a fractal of the Anunnaki. But on the bigger scale, the beings themselves that were talked about in these ancient texts and tablets, I believe that most of them are still around, or if not on Earth, but somewhere else. But their offspring, because we know that they had offspring here because they talk about it all the time. These were the demigods, that their bloodlines still exist on this Earth. And I believe that those bloodlines are still some of the main controllers, the oligarchs and the elites that are running and pulling the strings from behind the scenes, I believe are directly connected to these beings. These are the more direct bloodline connected people, or at least they believe they are, that are still running and controlling and dominating from behind the scenes today.
So the politicians that we see are kind of just puppets, and behind them is this shadow organization or this bloodline that really just runs everything.
There's a super shadow organization that runs, controls, and dominates with no oversight. And we know this because politicians don't know everything that's going on. Even the president doesn't even know everything that's going on. They're only given particular information. And politricksters and presidents and so forth, they're only allowed to get in there and be puppets. And also they're given the right or ability to monetize themselves so they can walk in poor and come out super rich. So, and everyone knows this. They don't know hardly anything. When I started researching UFOs and trying to find out which politicians knew about these activities going on, whether it's UAP activity or real UFO activity, come to find out most of them have no clue about anything. They've never been debriefed or anything. So they're just puppets. They know nothing. But people like myself and you, real researchers, we know way more than they do.
Well, I don't know if I know too much. I mean, I'm coming at this like a fifth grader asking you questions. But I'm curious, have you ever gotten like too close to something that you were like, oh, wow, this is like some really real stuff? I mean, like,
one time I came really close to something, and but I had signed an NDA. I had TS clearance at the Space Symposium 2018, top secret clearance in private space, because I have a tech company, and some things that I heard in there, which I can't talk about. Wow, I mean, I can tell you this: whatever you can think of or dream of, they've already created it. I don't care what you think of. I don't care what you dream can exist. It exists already.
So if you can dream it, it's real.
It's real. Technological stuff. Whatever you can think of. Portal technology, wormholes, faster than light travel. I don't care what you think of, it exists already.
Okay, well, one of the craziest things I've just heard is that the moon is artificial.
Oh, I believe that 1,000%. There are scans done through the USGS.gov website that were done by the Arecibo, which when it was functioning properly years ago, and it did a deep penetrating radar scan of the moon, and we have the results, and the results are on a government website, and you can clearly see beneath the surface that there are beams, or what looks like giant beams. We don't know if they're steel beams because we're not there. I can't test them, but what are beams, massive megalithic beams, doing beneath about 30 meters beneath the surface of the moon. I believe that it is hollow, that it is an artificial structure, or at least it was a structure that maybe that was natural, but that was then turned into an artificial structure. In other words, hollowed out and utilized for a particular purpose.
Yeah, Randall Carlson was saying that it's the external hard drive of Earth, perhaps, because it's, it has so many interesting properties where it's always facing us. It is rotating, but its rotation is perfect. So it's always facing us. There's that dark side. It's at the perfect distance, so it controls our oceans and our tides perfectly. And apparently it's hollow too. So yeah, he was saying that could be Noah's Ark. That is the Ark.
That's an amazing hypothesis. And you know what? That's interesting because I've never heard that before. But it sounds like, when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Definitely something to add to the hypothesis tree.
Yeah, he's very careful not to say this is what I think or this is a fact, but he's very good at, like letting you get to that conclusion yourself.
Right.
So, these are the things that get me excited though. I'll jump to the conclusion.
Yeah, it keeps you thinking.
Yeah, I mean, these are the ideas that kind of get you out of bed in the morning, right? You don't want life to be boring.
No, I'm not. I do not have a boring life, my friend. My brain's always going, man, just trying to connecting all the dots and finding new information and researching new information. And I love to learn. I love to connect things together and see if they do or don't connect. I just love coming with epiphany moments and, wow, there's always something to do. It's always something to learn. It's exciting. I have an exciting life.
Yeah. Do you have any plans to go to Antarctica?
I don't have any plans to go to Antarctica yet, but in this particular conversation we were having about this new series, Antarctica is on the list for one of these seasons. So there's the potential that I'll be on that, on that show. And if that is, then I'll be there. Yeah,
because there's a lot of mysteries there. There's even, I'm sure you've seen these old maps that show Antarctica without ice.
Yeah.
And so that,
the Perry Reese map.
Yeah, I just threw I did the fire round of questions at you right there. I was just like, the moon, Antarctica. So you just handled them all one by one. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. And you just handled everything like a pro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, man. It's an honor to be here, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's an honor to talk to you. I've been watching your stuff for a long time, and I knew our paths were going to cross eventually.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you for coming back and just, saying, let me revisit Billy Carson. I really appreciate that, brother. I really do. Deeply, here. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I appreciate you too. Yeah. And I'll thank my mother-in-law. She's a big fan of yours. And she's like, hold on. Go watch this stuff for yourself. Don't get things secondhand through, these people that just kind of take advantage of a narrative.
Clout chasers.
Yeah. They'll say, oh, it's over, or the sensational headline, because they know it gets clicks and views and it's the flavor of the week, and then they move on to the next thing. Yeah. So I'm glad you're still here.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
And tell your mother-in-law I said thank you and I love her and I appreciate her.
She'll love this. She'll be watching.
All right. Okay, great.
All right. Thank you so much, Billy. I'm going to...
All right, man.